Hello, my friend, and welcome back to Fluent English Journey. This is the channel where we learn real English by talking about real ideas. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. If this is your very first time listening, I want to say thank you for joining. And if you've been with me before, then welcome back. You already know this is a place where we learn together, grow together, and practice speaking better English step by step. So, before we begin, take a deep breath. Make yourself comfortable. Maybe you're at home, maybe you're on the bus, or maybe you're taking a walk. Wherever you are, just relax for a moment. Because today, we are going to talk about something very important. The topic today is critical thinking. Now, maybe that sounds like a big, difficult, or complicated idea. Don't worry, I am here to guide you slowly, step by step, using clear English that you can understand and also practice. Why is critical thinking important? Let me ask you a question. How many messages do you see every day? On the internet, on social media, on the news, even in conversations with friends and family? Think about it. We see hundreds of posts, videos, advertisements, and news stories every single day. Some people tell us what to buy. Some people tell us what to believe. Others try to convince us about politics, health, money, or lifestyle. It can feel like standing in the middle of a busy street. Voices are coming from every direction, left, right, front, and back. Everyone is talking at the same time. It is easy to feel lost. It is easy to feel confused. And this is exactly why critical thinking is so important today. Because critical thinking is like a tool. It helps you stop for a moment. It helps you think clearly. It helps you ask questions before you believe something or make a decision. What is critical thinking in simple words? Critical thinking is like having a mental filter. Just like a water filter cleans dirty water, a mental filter cleans the information in your mind. It removes the noise. It removes the lies. And it keeps what is useful and true. When you think critically, you are not just accepting everything you hear or see. Instead, you pause. You ask, is this true? Who is saying this? Why are they saying it? Does this idea make sense? This skill helps you in many areas of life. It helps you understand problems better. It helps you communicate more clearly. It helps you make decisions that fit your values and your goals. Do you need to be a genius? Now, maybe you're thinking, do I need to be super smart, a genius, or maybe a university professor to think critically? The answer is no. Not at all. Critical thinking is not only for scientists, philosophers, or teachers. Anyone can learn it. You don't need perfect English. You don't need a big degree. What you need is simple. Curiosity, a desire to learn. Patience, time to think carefully. Practice, doing it again and again until it becomes natural. Breaking down the words. Let's slow down for a moment. Before we continue, let's look at the two words, critical and thinking. First, the word thinking. That's easy. It means using your mind, using your brain, making ideas in your head. Now, the word critical. Many people hear critical and think it means something negative. For example, when someone criticizes you, they are saying something bad. But in our topic today, the word critical means something different. It means being careful, thoughtful, and serious about how we look at information. It doesn't mean being rude. It doesn't mean being negative. Being critical means you are not easily fooled. You don't just believe the first thing you see. You stop, you think, and you ask questions. So, that is the beginning of our journey with critical thinking. In the next part, we will go deeper. We will look at examples from daily life. And we will practice some simple steps you can use to become a stronger critical thinker, while also practicing natural English. Are you ready? Let's continue this journey together. Critical thinking, simple, clear, and practical, part 2. You try to see the whole picture. You want to be sure before you believe, decide, or act. This kind of critical attitude is a strength, not a problem. It protects you from false information, bad choices, and emotional mistakes. Now, let's look at the second word, thinking. Thinking is something we do all the time, but what is it really? Thinking is the process your brain uses to understand the world. It's not only about remembering facts. It's also about connecting ideas, solving problems, imagining new situations, and understanding people and events. Sometimes thinking is fast, like answering a simple question. Sometimes thinking is slow and deep, like making a big decision or trying to understand a complex topic. So you might say, okay, I know what thinking is, and I understand that critical means careful and thoughtful. What happens when we put them together? That's where it gets interesting. Critical thinking is not just thinking more or thinking harder. It's a special kind of thinking, a skill and a habit that helps you make better choices, avoid mistakes, and grow as a person. It can help you in school, at work, in your relationships, and in almost every part of your life. To really understand it, how it works, what it looks like in real life, and why it matters, we need to go a little deeper. What exactly is critical thinking? The phrase critical thinking can sound serious or even negative. Some people think it means criticizing everything or always looking for problems. But that's not the meaning here. Critical thinking doesn't mean being negative. It means being thoughtful, curious, and careful about what you believe, say, and do. In simple words, critical thinking is the ability to look at a situation, idea, or problem and not accept the first answer or opinion that appears. You pause and ask, is this really true? Where is this information from? What else could be happening? Instead of believing something just because someone said it, or because it feels good, or because it's popular, you stop, you analyze, and you look from different angles before you decide. Think of critical thinking like being a detective in your own mind. A detective looks for evidence, asks good questions, and does not jump to conclusions too quickly. A critical thinker does the same, but with ideas, information, and everyday choices. A simple example, a news story that makes you angry. Imagine you read a news story that makes you feel very angry. A critical thinker would pause and ask, why do I feel this way? Is the story one-sided? Who wrote it? What might their goal be? Do they show evidence or only strong language and emotion? Can I find the same facts in another reliable source? This short pause can stop you from sharing something false or reacting in a way you might regret. More everyday examples, quick and real. Social media post. Drink this tea and lose 5 kilograms in 1 week. Ask, who is selling it? Any scientific proof? Are there reviews from real people? What do doctors say? Big discount. 50% OFF today only. Ask, what is the original price? Is it a real discount or just marketing? Do I actually need this? Forwarded message. New rule starts tomorrow. Ask, is there an official announcement? Can I check a government or trusted website? Friend's opinion. Everyone is doing this. Don't be stupid. Ask, is everyone true? What are the risks? What are my values? Online advice. Quit your job now and follow your passion. Ask, does this person know my life? What are the costs? What's a small, safe first step? A simple method you can use. SLOWR. When you feel pressure to react fast, go slower. Stop. Pause. Breathe. Don't react immediately. Look. What exactly is being said? Separate facts from opinions and feelings. Origin, source. Where does this information come from? Is the source reliable? Weigh evidence. What proof is given? Numbers? Data? Expert views? Or only stories and emotion? Explore alternatives. What else could explain this? Are there other sides to the story? Respond or recheck. Make a careful decision or decide to wait and check more sources. Use slower anytime. News, money, health, studies, relationships. Helpful language you can practice. B2. Friendly sentence frames. Before I decide, I'd like to check the source. What evidence supports this claim? Could there be another explanation? Is this an opinion or a fact? I may be biased so I want to look again. I'll compare at least 2 reliable sources before I share this. Key vocabulary, simple definitions. Claim, something someone says is true. Evidence, facts or proof that support a claim. Source, where the information comes from. Reliable, can be trusted. Bias, a preference or belief that can affect judgment. Assumption, something we believe without checking. Context, the. Critical thinking, part 3, why it matters today. Critical thinking is not about finding the perfect answer. It's about looking deeper, understanding more, and making wiser choices. Think of it like checking the ingredients on a food label before eating something new. You don't just eat it because it looks delicious, right? You want to know, what's inside? Is it healthy for me? In the same way, a critical thinker doesn't just believe an idea because it sounds nice or because everyone else agrees with it. They want to know what's behind the message, the reasons, the logic, the facts. Not jumping to conclusions. Another way to describe critical thinking is this. It's the skill of not jumping to conclusions. It's the ability to stay calm, keep an open mind, look at the big picture. This isn't always easy. Many of us are trained to respond quickly, agree with the crowd, or believe something just because we've always believed it. But critical thinking invites us to slow down, take a breath, and look again, more carefully, more thoughtfully. Why does this matter for English learners? You might be thinking, okay, this sounds useful. But why is this important for me, especially as someone learning English? That's a wonderful question. The truth is, learning a language is not just about words and grammar. It's also about learning to think in new ways. When you practice critical thinking, you also improve your communication. You explain your ideas more clearly. You ask better, smarter questions. You listen more deeply to other people. This doesn't just help you speak better English. It also helps you connect with people, solve problems, and make stronger decisions in your life. A simple example. Imagine your friend tells you, "Don't eat that food. It's unhealthy. You should never eat it." Now, your quick reaction might be to agree and stop eating it. But a critical thinker would pause and ask, why does my friend believe this? Where did they get their information? Is that food always unhealthy or only in certain situations? What does science say? What do I believe? Notice, you're not arguing with your friend. You're simply thinking for yourself. And that is powerful. Everyday critical thinking. In daily life, critical thinking shows up in many small ways. When you read an article online and ask, is this really true? When you hear a rumor and decide not to spread it. When you reflect on your own mistakes and ask, what can I learn from this? It's not about being perfect. It's about being more aware and conscious of your thoughts and actions. And it's also okay to admit when you don't know something. Sometimes the most powerful answer is, I'm not sure yet. I need more information before I decide. A rare and valuable skill. We live in a world where people often speak too fast, post too fast, and decide too fast. In this kind of world, someone who can pause, reflect, and think carefully is actually rare and very valuable. So, let's summarize this part. Critical thinking is not negative criticism. It's not about being difficult or slow. It's about being smart with your thoughts. It's about asking good questions, looking for evidence, and staying open-minded. Critical thinking helps you understand more deeply, make better decisions, and grow as both a learner and a person. Why it matters now more than ever. Now that you have a clear picture of what critical thinking is, let's talk about why it matters so much today. Because we live in an age of information overload, so much news, social media, advice, and opinions. But not all of it is true. Not all of it is helpful. And that's where critical thinking becomes one of the most important skills you can have. Critical Thinking Part 4: Why It Matters Now. Every day we are surrounded by huge amounts of information. We see posts on social media, videos on YouTube, short messages on Twitter, advertisements on the street, news on TV, and we hear things from friends, family, and teachers too. Some experts say we get more information in one day now than people in the past got in a whole week. That is a lot of noise. The problem is, not all information is true, helpful, or healthy. Some messages are made to make us feel angry or afraid. Some are meant to sell something or to make us agree with someone's opinion. Some are shared just because they are popular or emotional, not because they are correct. If we don't stop and think, we can begin to believe things that are false. We can make choices that don't help us. We might even pass wrong information to other people without meaning to. That is why critical thinking is so powerful. It helps us filter information, like a coffee filter removes unwanted bits and keeps what is useful. When you think critically, you do small things that make a big difference. You pause instead of reacting immediately. You breathe to calm down. You ask, does this make sense? Is there evidence? Is this the full story or only one side? Short, clear examples. 1. A scary headline. You see a post, a certain food causes cancer. A critical thinker will check the source. Is this from a scientific site or a random blog? Is there real research or just an emotional story? Maybe read more or ask a doctor. You don't panic, you investigate. 2. A common belief at school. Someone says, you'll never get a good job without a top university. You might feel discouraged, but critical thinking asks, is that true for everyone? Are there examples of people who succeeded without a famous degree? What skills do employers actually want? You think more deeply, not accept the first idea. 3. A short rude message from a friend. You get a text that feels cold or rude. You could get angry. Or you could pause and consider. Could they be busy or tired? Is their message normal for them? Could you have read the tone wrong? A small pause can save a friendship. Bigger decisions and daily life. Critical thinking helps with big life choices too, picking a job, moving to a new city, or deciding who to trust. Look at the facts, think about different views, and be honest with yourself. This is not being slow. It is being smart. Clear thinking leads to better choices, and better choices make life better. Quick practical steps, do these now. When you see something that makes you react, follow these 5 steps. Pause, stop for 5 to 10 seconds. Check the source. Who is saying it? Is it reliable? Look for evidence. Are there facts, studies, or expert opinions? Consider motives. Who benefits if you believe or share this? Decide or delay. Decide carefully or say, I need more time/info. Practice for English learners. Speak aloud drills. Say these aloud to practice language plus thinking. Can you tell me the source of that information? Is this a fact or an opinion? I'm not sure yet. Let me check 1 or 2 reliable sources. Could there be another explanation? Quick mini exercises. Next time you see a dramatic headline, write down 2 questions you will ask before sharing it. When a friend makes a strong claim, say, where did you read that? And listen to their answer. Pick one decision you will delay by 24 hours so you can collect more information. Critical thinking is simple in idea but powerful in life. It helps you avoid mistakes, understand more deeply, and make better choices, all while improving your English. You speak more clearly, ask smarter questions, and listen more carefully. Another common misunderstanding that says critical thinking means being negative or always doubting everything. This is not true at all. Critical thinking is not about complaining or rejecting every idea. It's not about saying no to everything or trying to prove people wrong. Instead, it's about being curious, open, and careful. A critical thinker can say yes, but they do so with understanding, not blindly. They look for reasons, they check the facts, and then they make a choice. In fact, Critical thinking often leads to more positive results because you make decisions that are thoughtful and strong, not rushed or weak. Another myth is that critical thinking takes too much time. People sometimes believe they can't afford to slow down, especially in a fast world. But here's the truth. Critical thinking doesn't always take hours. Often it's just a small pause, a few seconds to breathe, to ask yourself one or two good questions, to consider another perspective. That little pause can save you from big mistakes. And with practice, this habit becomes quicker and more natural. Finally, some people believe critical thinking is something you either have or you don't. They think it's a fixed talent, like being good at singing or drawing. But that's not true. Critical thinking is a skill, and like any skill, it grows when you use it. The more you practice, whether by asking questions, reading carefully, or reflecting on your experiences, the stronger your critical thinking becomes. So let's remember, you don't need to be a genius. It's not only for academics. It's not about being negative. It doesn't take forever. And it's not something fixed, you can always improve. Now that we've cleared up these myths, let's take the next step: how to actually practice critical thinking in daily life. How critical thinkers think differently, Part 5. Now let's look at how critical thinkers actually think, the habits and mindsets that make them different. I'll keep this simple and practical so you can use it in daily life and in your English practice. They ask good questions. Critical thinkers ask questions that go deeper, not just small or simple questions. Examples of useful questions. Why do I believe this? What evidence supports it? Could there be another explanation? Who benefits if people believe this? These questions are not to be rude. They are tools to help understand better. They look for evidence. Before trying something new, like a diet or product, they check the facts. For example, if someone says, "This diet helps you lose weight fast," a critical thinker will look for studies or reliable reports. See if many people tried it and what happened. Check who wrote the article. Do they have a conflict of interest? Ask an expert or a trusted source if possible. They do small, practical checks. Not every question needs a long study. Sometimes a quick, simple check is enough. They consider alternatives. Instead of believing the first idea that appears, critical thinkers ask, "What else could explain this?" They think of different reasons and weigh them. This helps avoid jumping to the wrong conclusion. They test assumptions. We all have beliefs that come from family, culture, or habit. Critical thinkers pause and ask, "Is this belief true for me? Where did it come from?" This helps with personal growth. For example, "I'm not good enough. Where did I learn that? Is it really true?" They separate facts from feelings. Feelings are important. But good thinking checks whether emotions are making us believe something without proof. When a headline makes you angry, a critical thinker notices the feeling and then asks for facts before reacting. They seek different points of view. Critical thinkers try to see more than one side. They read or listen to different voices, especially when a topic is important. This helps them understand context and avoid bias. They are willing to change their mind. A strong thinker can say, "I was wrong." Being willing to change your view when new evidence appears is a sign of strength, not weakness. Quick checklist you can use right away. When you hear a strong claim or feel a fast reaction, run this mental checklist. Pause, stop for a few seconds. Question, ask 1 to 2 good questions. Who? Why? How do they know? Check, look for at least one reliable source or an expert opinion. Compare, see if other sources say the same thing. Reflect, notice your emotion and possible bias. Decide, respond, share, or say, "I need more time." Practice this checklist a few times this week and it will become more natural. Useful English phrases to practice. B2 level. Say these aloud to practice both language and thinking. Where did you read that? Can you show the evidence for this claim? That may be true in some cases, but what about other situations? I'm not sure yet. Let me check one or two sources. I could be mistaken. Can you help me understand more? 2 short practice exercises. Exercise A, social media check, 5 minutes. Find one dramatic post or headline. Use the checklist. Pause, question, check, compare, decide. Write down 2 to 3 small things you learned. Exercise B, personal belief, 10 minutes. Think of one belief about yourself, e.g., I can't speak in public. Ask, where did this belief come from? Is it always true? What small step could test it? Write one tiny experiment you can try. Critical thinkers do not have special magic. They simply use a small set of habits often. The more you practice, the easier and faster it becomes, and the better your choices, your English, and your conversations will be. So to sum it all up, critical thinkers think differently because they ask deep and meaningful questions. They look for real evidence, not just nice-sounding words. They are comfortable saying, I don't know yet. They stay open to other perspectives. They manage their emotions instead of letting emotions control them. These habits don't make life more complicated, they make life clearer. They protect you from mistakes, help you connect with people, and give you confidence in your choices. And the good news is, anyone can learn these habits. The more you practice them, the more natural they become. Now that we've seen how critical thinkers think differently, let's move to the most practical part. How can you start practicing critical thinking in your own daily life? Barriers to critical thinking. Now that we understand what critical thinking is and how it helps us, let's talk about something just as important, the barriers. These are the things that make it hard for us to think clearly. Because let's be honest, even when we want to be careful and thoughtful, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes our own feelings get in the way. Sometimes the world around us pushes us in the wrong direction. And sometimes we just don't notice what's stopping us. If we want to become better critical thinkers, we need to know what these barriers are. Once we see them clearly, we can start to overcome them. 1. Emotions. One of the biggest barriers is emotions. Have you ever made a decision really quickly just because you were angry, scared, or super excited? Maybe you sent a message you later regretted. Maybe you bought something you didn't really need. Or maybe you believed a story without checking the facts first, just because it made you feel good or made you feel scared. This happens to all of us. Emotions are part of being human. They're not bad, they help us feel alive and connect with others. But when our emotions are too strong, they can make it hard to think clearly. Fear can make us believe things that aren't true because we're too worried. Anger can make us ignore other people's opinions, even if they're right. Excitement can make us trust something too quickly without checking. Here's a simple question. Have you ever believed something just because it felt good, not because it was true? That's how emotions can block critical thinking. A good thinker knows this and takes a breath before reacting. 2. Self-doubt. Another barrier is self-doubt. This is when you think, maybe I'm not smart enough. What if I'm wrong? I don't want to sound stupid. Sound familiar? Most of us have felt this way at some point. And because of this fear, many people stay quiet. They don't ask questions in class, at work, or even with friends. They just agree, even if they're not sure. But here's the truth. Asking questions doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It shows that you are thinking, not just accepting. Every great critical thinker started with doubts. Confidence comes with practice. The more you allow yourself to explore and ask, the stronger your thinking becomes. So ask yourself, what stops me from asking more questions? Is it fear of being wrong? Fear of judgment? If yes, remember you're not alone, and it's okay to learn step by step. 3. Bias. Now let's talk about bias. Bias means favoring one idea, group, or opinion more than another, sometimes without even realizing it. Everyone has biases. They come from how we were raised, the culture we live in, the people we spend time with, or even the media we watch. For example, you might believe your favorite celebrity is always right, just because they're famous. You might think one group of people is always better than another. You might only trust information that already agrees with what you believe. The problem with bias is that it closes our minds. We stop questioning. We stop listening. We only notice the information that supports what we already think. That's dangerous because it prevents us from seeing the full picture. Critical thinkers try to ask, am I being fair? Am I only looking at one side? What would someone who disagrees with me say? It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. Looking at other perspectives makes our thinking stronger. 4. Mental laziness. Finally, let's talk about mental laziness. It doesn't sound nice, but it's real. Deep thinking takes effort, and sometimes we just don't want to do it. It's easier to accept what someone tells us. Believe the first answer we hear. Follow the crowd without asking questions. But here's the thing, easy choices often bring weak results. If we don't practice thinking, we become dependent on others to decide for us. Critical thinking asks us to push past this laziness and stay curious. Just like exercise makes your body stronger, thinking makes your mind stronger. The more you practice questioning, reflecting, and analyzing, the easier it gets. To sum up, the 4 big barriers to critical thinking are strong emotions that cloud judgment, self-doubt that makes us stay quiet, bias that makes us close our minds, mental laziness that makes us accept the easy way. The good news is, once we recognize these barriers, we can start breaking them. Awareness is the first step to change. Simple ways to build your critical thinking. So, we've talked about what critical thinking really means, and we've also looked at the barriers, the things that make it hard for us to think clearly. Now it's time for something even more practical. How can you actually build the skill in your everyday life? The good news is you don't need a degree, a special class, or a big book. You can start right now with a few small but powerful habits. 1. Pause before reacting. This might be the simplest step, but also the most powerful. Most of us react instantly, especially when we feel emotional. Someone says something rude, we reply fast. We see a post online, we believe it or share it. We feel angry, scared, or excited, we act quickly without thinking. But here's the truth. Your first reaction is not always your best one. Critical thinkers learn to pause. They give themselves a few seconds, sometimes a few minutes, to breathe and think before responding. For example, instead of replying instantly to a rude message, you might wait and ask, did they mean it that way, or am I just tired? Instead of buying something online right away, you pause and ask, do I really need this? Is it worth it? That little pause can save you from mistakes, from conflict, and from regret. 2. Ask better questions. Critical thinking is built on questions. The more questions you ask, the clearer your thinking becomes. Good questions include things like, why do I believe this? Where is this information coming from? What's another way to see this? What evidence do I have? For example, if a friend tells you, this food is always unhealthy, don't just agree. Ask, why do they believe that? What do doctors or scientists say? Is it always unhealthy or just in certain amounts? You're not being rude, you're just exploring. That's how you get closer to the truth. 3. Look for evidence. In a world full of headlines, ads, and opinions, it's easy to believe something just because it sounds convincing. But critical thinkers ask, where's the proof? Imagine you see an ad saying, this one drink will make you lose weight fast. Instead of believing it, a critical thinker asks, is there research behind this? What do experts say? Have other people tried it successfully? Looking for evidence doesn't mean you can't try new things, it just means you try them with your eyes open. 4. Consider other perspectives. Another habit of strong thinkers is to look at things from more than one side. For example, if you hear one person say, you need to go to a top university to get a good job, you might also ask, is that always true? What about people who succeed without a famous degree? What other skills do employers value? By considering different perspectives, you make wiser, more balanced decisions. 5. Be comfortable saying, "I don't know." This might sound small, but it's huge. Many people feel they need to have an answer to everything. But sometimes the smartest thing you can say is, "I don't know yet." Critical thinkers don't rush into answers just to feel safe. If they don't know, they stay curious. They learn more. They wait until they understand better. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. It shows honesty and openness. 6. Check your own thoughts. Critical thinking isn't only about questioning others, it's also about questioning yourself. Sometimes our own thoughts are the problem. For example, have you ever told yourself, "I can't do this. I'm not good enough"? A critical thinker pauses and asks, where is this belief coming from? Is it really true, or is it just fear? By questioning your own thoughts, you free yourself from limiting beliefs. 7. Practice small, daily habits. The best way to grow as a critical thinker is not with big, dramatic changes. It's with small, daily habits like taking a breath before replying, reading more than one source before believing something, asking one extra question in conversations, reflecting at the end of the day, what did I learn today? Did I believe something too quickly? Over time, these little actions become natural. They turn into a mindset, a way of living that makes you calmer, wiser, and stronger. White heavy checkmark to sum it up. Critical thinking grows when you pause before reacting, ask questions, look for evidence, consider other perspectives, stay comfortable with not knowing, and even challenge your own thoughts. It's not about being perfect. It's about practicing every day. And the more you practice, the more confident and independent you'll feel in your choices. Practical ways to practice critical thinking. Now that we know what critical thinking is, why it matters, and what blocks it, let's explore simple ways you can start practicing it every day. The great thing is, you don't need special classes, expensive books, or complicated methods. You can start right now, wherever you are. 1. Pause before reacting. One of the simplest and most powerful habits is to pause before you respond or make a decision. Even just a few seconds or a full minute can make a big difference. Why? Because our brains often react faster than they think. When we feel pressure, stress, or strong emotions, it's easy to act too quickly. But taking a pause lets your brain catch up. It gives you space to think clearly instead of reacting automatically. For example, someone says something online that upsets you. Instead of replying immediately, pause and ask, do I really want to respond this way? A friend makes a suggestion you don't agree with. Before answering, pause and think, what's the best way to respond? This small pause can prevent mistakes, misunderstandings, and unnecessary conflicts. 2. Ask better questions. Critical thinkers ask thoughtful questions, not just for others, but for themselves. Asking questions helps you dig deeper, understand better, and avoid accepting things too quickly. Some useful questions include, what evidence supports this? Why do I agree or disagree with this? Could there be another explanation? You don't have to ask out loud. You can ask yourself quietly in your mind. The habit of asking these questions regularly will train your brain to think more clearly and carefully. 3. Consider the opposite viewpoint. This can feel uncomfortable, but it's one of the strongest ways to grow your thinking. Try looking at ideas from a perspective different from your own. For example, you believe strongly in a rule or decision. Ask, what would someone who disagrees with me say? You support an idea. Ask, why might someone see this differently? This doesn't mean you must change your opinion. It simply trains your mind to be more flexible, open, and fair. Over time, you'll notice that you make fewer snap judgments and understand people better. 4. Reflect after making decisions. We all make choices every day. Some are small, like what to eat, and some are big, like which job to take. But how often do we reflect on these decisions? Try this simple practice. After making a choice, ask yourself, What went well? What could I have done better? Don't judge yourself too harshly. This is about learning, not guilt. Reflection helps you notice patterns in your thinking. You begin to see what works and what doesn't, which helps you make better decisions in the future. 5. Listen carefully. Critical thinking isn't just about what you think, it's also about how you listen. Good thinkers are good listeners. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, really focus on what the other person is saying. Ask yourself, what are they really trying to say? Why do they see things this way? Listening carefully improves empathy, respect, and communication. And when you understand others better, your own thinking becomes stronger. 6. Spot areas in your life to improve. Here's a simple exercise you can try today. Ask yourself, where could I think more clearly in my life? Maybe it's at work, where fast decisions are common. Maybe it's in your relationships, where emotions often take over. Maybe it's when reading news online or scrolling social media. Once you identify one area, focus on practicing just one small habit there, pausing, asking questions, listening, or reflecting. Small steps lead to big growth over time. White heavy checkmark summary of daily habits. Pause before reacting. Ask thoughtful questions. Consider the opposite viewpoint. Reflect on your decisions. Listen carefully to others. Focus on one area to improve each day. The key is practice. You don't need to be perfect. Just notice your thinking, challenge it gently, and repeat these habits every day. Over time, your mind becomes stronger, your decisions become wiser, and you'll feel more confident and independent. Practicing critical thinking in real life. Sometimes our thoughts and emotions take over. Maybe it's in how you spend your time, your money, or your energy. The first step is to pick one area of your life and start paying attention to your thinking there. Ask yourself, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? Am I open to changing my mind if I learn something new? Building critical thinking doesn't happen instantly. Think of it like building a muscle. It grows slowly, day by day, with practice. The more you pause, ask questions, listen, and reflect, the stronger your thinking becomes. Over time, you'll notice something amazing. You feel more in control of your choices. You become more confident in conversations. You stop reacting automatically and start responding with purpose. Start small. Maybe pause before you speak in your next conversation or ask one better question today. Each small step builds a more thoughtful, wiser version of yourself. A personal story about critical thinking. Let me share a story from my own life. A few years ago, I was offered a new job. On paper, it seemed perfect. The salary was high, the company was well known, and everyone around me said it was an opportunity one couldn't miss. At first, I agreed. It seemed like the smart choice. But deep down, something didn't feel right. I ignored that feeling. I followed the common idea that success meant more money, a bigger company, and a faster career. I didn't pause. I didn't ask the important questions. I didn't think critically. I didn't ask, is this job really right for me? Will I be happy doing this work every day? Instead, I accepted the job. At first, it seemed okay, but soon I started to feel stressed and drained. The work didn't match my strengths, the team wasn't supportive, and the company values didn't align with mine. I felt stuck and unhappy. That's when I finally paused and reflected. I asked myself, why did I take this job? The answer was clear. I followed other people's opinions instead of my own careful thinking. Fear had led me, fear of missing out, fear of appearing unambitious, fear of making the wrong choice. I decided to leave the job. It wasn't easy. Some people thought I was giving up, but I saw it differently. I saw it as learning and growth. This experience taught me how powerful critical thinking is, especially when making big decisions. Now, before making important choices, I always pause, ask questions, reflect, and listen to myself, not just the noise around me. I ask, what are the facts? What do I really want? What makes the most sense for me? That's the power of critical thinking. It helps you make decisions that are right for you, even when the world around you is noisy, fast, or full of pressure. Wrapping up, thinking for yourself. As we finish today's episode, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I thinking for myself or just following the crowd? Do I make decisions because I truly want them or because of pressure or fear? Even with small decisions, this habit matters. Over time, paying attention to your thinking helps you avoid mistakes, feel more confident, and stay true to what really matters. Critical thinking isn't just for school or work. It's for your life, helping you become stronger, more independent, and more in control. Think about this. Have you ever made a choice because of pressure or fear instead of what you truly wanted? What would happen if next time you slowed down and really thought it through? Critical thinking doesn't promise you'll never make mistakes, but it does mean your choices come from a clear, thoughtful place, and that makes all the difference. Looking back, let's review what we've talked about today. What is critical thinking? It's more than just thinking carefully. It's about asking the right questions, staying open to new ideas, checking facts, and not blindly following the crowd. It's being thoughtful, curious, and honest with yourself, even when it's not easy. Why it matters. Critical thinking helps you make smarter choices, solve problems better, and avoid being tricked by false information. It gives you the power to pause, reflect, and decide with confidence instead of reacting only to emotion or pressure. Barriers to thinking clearly. Strong emotions like fear or anger, self-doubt or mental laziness. Accepting information without asking questions. These are normal, but noticing them is the first step to overcoming them. Simple ways to practice critical thinking. Pause before reacting. Ask better questions. Consider the other side of the story. Listen more carefully. Reflect after making decisions. Small habits like these, repeated consistently, strengthen your mind and your thinking. Learning through experience. We don't always get it right, and that's okay. Every mistake is a chance to learn and grow. Critical thinking is like a muscle. It gets stronger with practice. You can do this. Now, you might be wondering, can I really do this? The answer is yes. You're already doing it right now by listening and paying attention. Thinking about your own thinking is the first step toward becoming a critical thinker. Remember, you're smarter than you think. You don't need all the answers. What you need is the courage to ask better questions and to pause before making decisions. That's how you start. Here's a challenge for you. After this episode, take a few minutes to reflect. Think of a moment in your life when you used or didn't use critical thinking. What happened? What did you learn? How could pausing, questioning, or reflecting have made a difference? Doing this simple exercise helps you see your thinking more clearly and gives you the power to make better choices in the future. Critical thinking isn't about being perfect. It's about practice, awareness, and small, consistent steps. Every time you pause, reflect, and choose carefully, you're getting stronger, wiser, and more confident. And that, my friend, is how you take control of your mind, your choices, and your life. Maybe you took the time to think carefully before making a choice. Or maybe you followed your emotions and later realized that a different decision might have been better. That's okay. Don't worry about grammar, mistakes, or getting everything perfectly right. What matters is that you express yourself, reflect, and learn. Use English as a tool to grow, to think, and to practice. Keep going, keep speaking, keep asking questions, and keep thinking. This is how you grow, not just as an English learner, but as a person. Every small step you take to pause, reflect, and think critically makes a difference. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future lessons. Also, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your experiences with critical thinking. What have you noticed about your own choices? What did you learn when you paused and reflected? Remember, learning and growing is a journey. You've got this. Keep practicing, keep asking questions, and keep learning. Every time you think carefully and act thoughtfully, you are building a stronger, wiser, and more confident version of yourself. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you feel inspired, encouraged, and ready to take on life with more confidence and clear thinking. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep thinking for yourself.